Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's always great. I'll talk to anyone that's listening, to be honest, about Innocent, so thank you. Matthew suggested I do three things. One was just give a very brief bit of history about the company, about how myself and my two friends got started. Second one then was just spend a bit of time talking about the Innocent approach to business. We're 1,000 miles off being perfect and 1,000 miles off being the company that we want to be, but we have got a strategy for how we hope we can go about doing business in a slightly more enlightened way. And I was just going to quickly take you through that. And then thirdly, just at the end, just to talk through what I think for me as a guy running a company, what are the advantages of integrity? There are certain things that you get out, as well as a greater sense of pride from running a company in hopefully what is a slightly better than average way. I find it myself a bit of a fraud to share a stage with someone like I said. The big issue for me is an absolutely amazing social enterprise, and at the end of the day, we're a private profit-making company. And so I wouldn't like to think of myself in the same category as something like the big issue, but I can tell you about from my sort of perspective as an entrepreneur of a business. So starting with the first things first, the history of the company. It was set up by myself and my two closest friends. We'd known each other for as long as, for about 6 or 7 years. We were at college together and always used to talk about how much we'd love to set up a business together. And after a while, stopped talking about it and said, look, we should either get on with it or just give it up, otherwise we're going to drive ourselves completely nuts. And we were on a snowboarding holiday at the time and came up with different ideas. We said we wanted to create a business that made life a little bit easier and a little bit better. And that was our going-in point. And from that idea of making life easier and better, we came up with our first business idea, which was to make this thing called the Amazing Electric Bath, which in the history of business ideas is probably the worst business idea ever thought of. It was all about this bath that would fill itself up to a pre-designated level and pre-designated temperature all at the touch of a button. The fundamental flaw when we looked at the drawings was that it involved water and electricity in close proximity. We realised rather than making life easier and better, we're just going to make life a hell of a lot shorter for people. So moved on from that. And then it came back to a bit of advice that I was given I could pass on to someone else, which is, look, if you're setting up a business, make sure you know who your target audience is. Make sure you absolutely understand them and what it is that they want. And at that stage, we could say, look, the only target audience we probably understood was ourselves. So what's something that we ourselves want on a day-to-day basis? And that was something that would be natural, fresh, healthy, a really easy way to do yourself some good, because you know what it's like. You live and work in an urban area, we're out late, we're working hard, we're not making it to the gym, and the only place that's open for food is typically the local kebab shop. So wouldn't it be great if there was a company that just made natural things that made it easy for people to do themselves some good? So that was our idea for Innocent, and we started by literally buying £500 worth of fruit and turning it into what was our favourite smoothie recipe at the time, and selling bottles of smoothies from a stall at a music festival. And at this stall, we had a sign above it that said, should we give up our day jobs to make these smoothies? And put out a bin that said yes, and a bin that said no, and asked people, I guess in a precursor to Pop Idol, to vote, but using their empty bottles. And we got to the end of the weekend, and the yes bin was pretty full, and there was definitely some in the no bin that we traced back to our mums who were trying to persuade us out of giving our decent jobs at the time. But it gave us enough confidence to go in the next day and resign and set up Innocent full time, which is what we've been doing. So that was back in August of 98 when we did the yes and no bins. We managed to get to market in April 99. I remember the first day very clearly. We sold 24 bottles, which was not bad for first day's taking. At the moment, we're selling about 500,000 bottles a day. So it's definitely for us, it's been a big ride from going from absolutely nothing to the company that we are now. But of course, the companies we're competing against are the Cokes and the Pepsis of this world. So we are definitely very much the David to their Goliath. But that's the history of the company. As I said, the second thing, as I was talking about, is just our approach to doing business. And I guess if I was to summarise it in a phrase, we want to be net positive. Easy thing to say. The other way I talk about it is, and I'm always conscious it makes me sound like a Miss World contestant, but we want to make things, leave things a little bit better than we find them. And that's really, can be, some people sort of screw their faces up and think it's a bit of a trite phrase. It may be, but it does sum up what we're actually trying to achieve with Innocent. But I guess a noble intention and a nice Miss World contestant phrase is all very well and good, but how you're actually going to do that. And as I said, we've got a lot more questions than we've got answers at the moment because we're still starting out on our path. But we do have our sort of first blush of strategy about how can we have a business that is net positive. And it comes down to doing 5 things. We think first and foremost, the most important thing is the nature of the things that we make. We have to make stuff that nutritionally is totally natural and totally healthy. So when you drink one, you're slightly better off than you were from before in terms of the nutritional point. So that's why our drinks are always 100% fruit, never made from concentrate, the sort of the fresh, natural, real stuff. Second thing for us, it's about, can we procure those ingredients in the most ethically and environmentally conscious manner possible? Can we get to pay a premium, which we're now built into the business model, to buy fruit locally? Can we find those plantations, those farms over in other countries where they are pioneering new ethical standards? That's why our fruit, where possible, comes from farms accredited by the Rainforest Alliance. The third bit of it is about the packaging choices that we make. Can we make packaging that has just got a lighter footprint? That's why we brought out this year a bottle which now biodegrades. So you can put it in a home composting heap, and 6 weeks later, it's turned into sugar and water. Fourthly, we're about energy use, conserving it, using green wherever possible. So right from day one, Innocent's always run on green electricity. We refuse to air freight fruit. There's 1,001 things that we could be doing. We're probably not doing anywhere near as many as we should be, but again, we've got our sort of first vaulting steps down that path. And the fifth thing we believe that companies can do, if they're successful, is share some of the profits they create. So again, right from day one in the business, 10% of the profits every year goes into funding rural development projects in the countries where the fruit comes from. Now, as I say, we're 1,000 miles away from where we want to be in terms of how good we are as a company, but it's our starting in point. We've done that from day one. We'll continue to do that. And each day, we're just trying to find a little bit more to make it a little bit better in terms of how we leave the things that we find. And then I guess the final bit is just so why bother, you know, because I guess it is a bit more difficult. It is a bit more complicated. It can, in cases, be a bit more expensive. So why do you do it? Well, for me, actually, it's not the reasons that people would typically think. Yes, there is potentially some consumer advantage. Maybe there are some people out there that buy our drinks because they're a little bit more environmentally and ethically conscious than other people's drinks. But actually, that's not really the main reason why people should be buying them. They should be buying them because they're more natural and they're fresher and they're healthier and they taste great. That other stuff, I actually don't think it really does drive that many sales. It might get us the odd extra listing, or it might get us in front of the right person that's going to make the listing decision. But again, I can't really, in 7 years of business, really put my finger on a time when it's actually happened. I think what it's actually about is it allows you to work with a more talented, more intelligent, more committed group of people. That's the reason for the success of Innocent so far. It's the fantastic people that I get to work with. And I know that because they're bright people, that they read the newspapers, because we watch the movies, because we realise that there are some absolutely huge issues that we're facing. And I don't want to work with people that can come into a business and leave those concerns at home. I think the best businesses, especially the ones going forward, are going to be the ones that ask the people that work in their businesses to remain as those people while they do their business work, to keep their personal values, to not check in the personality at the door. I want people that can come in and make business decisions that, whilst financially astute, are actually socially aware. And I can't expect people like that to stay around if they're going to be working in a business that doesn't have integrity. So that, for me, is the thing that I've realised over time. If you can find people that are commercially aware and socially aware, it's such a killer combination. And I want as many of those people that don't over-index in one, but over-index on both, that are commercially aware and socially aware, working in the business. It means I get more out of it. It means that we can all be prouder. It means it's a more exciting place to work. And best of all, it means we keep these talented, intelligent, passionate people engaged for longer. And that's surely got to be the best route to being a successful business. So anyway, they're my sort of thoughts in terms of what Innocent's about and how we got to where we are, and why I think it is always worth as a commercial as well as a moral benefit from trying to sort of give, excuse my French, a bit of a shit about the sort of the way that business interacts in the communities in which it's a part of. Thanks very much.